Joining us today. My name is Sokha Yous, and I'm a financial wellness counselor here with Mayo Employees Federal Credit Union. I've been in this role for a couple years, but prior to that, I was in collections for about 16 years. So they're both fun, and they both have their pros and cons. But I absolutely love talking about this topic today. It's budgeting, so I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and in person and in YouTube land as well. And if you're watching this video later on, thank you so much for watching. And again, my name is Sokha Yous. This is my contact information. So my phone number is there and my email address is there. If you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to ask. And if you want to chit chat with me later on after this presentation to ask some personal questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And again, we're going to be talking about budgeting today. Or did you guys get all that down? I can just go back and stay here for a little bit. So it's a weird name to spell. You got it? Okay, good deal. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about budgeting. It may seem like something very basic, and we should keep it very basic, right, when it comes to our household budgeting or personal budgeting. So I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible, but then also kind of point out some good points and stuff that I really like using with our members here. So we're going to talk about what is a budget, the importance of having a budget, and then how to budget, and setting financial goals, having financial goals, setting them, and what we need to do to achieve financial goals. Then we're going to talk about debt management, because we can't talk about budget without talking about debt management as well. That's a big part of a lot of people's budget. Additional tools and supports, and of course part of that financial goals is going to be savings also. So what is a budget? So simply put, it's just a spending plan based on your income, expenses, and financial goals. So your income can be from your main job, your second job, your spouse's job, or a rental property. Whatever it is you take in each month is considered your income. There are some families that have two different budgets, so it can be a budget for one spouse, another budget for another spouse. And in that situation, I just work with them individually and also as a team also, so they know what combined budgets they need to put as combined expenses they need to include. And then keeping track of how much you earn, spend, save will give you a better control of your financial future. So again, we try to keep things as basic as possible. A budget is basically your income minus your expenses and your financial goals, okay? So what really is a budget? It doesn't require you to be good at math at all. It's just, some basic math that I use on the calculator on your phone or the calculator on your laptop or computer. And we want to keep it as simple as possible. I do have a template that I use here. It's just something that I came up with, and the numbers I'll show you in a little bit here. Doesn't belong to anyone. It's just the average number. For example, like for grocery bills and stuff, or for mortgage, that's the number that I use is the average amount, the average cost here in Rochester, Minnesota. So we'll go over that here in just a little bit. So you can use your own template, or you can use one of mine. There's thousands and thousands of templates out there online that are free, but you don't have to pay for them, okay? So you can use just a regular notebook that you write down to keep track of things, or you can just use an app, or several apps are available out there. But the goal here is to work with something that you know that you're going to use every day, something that you know that is going to be good for you in the future and help you plan for your financial goals too. So we have different budget tools that we can show you as well that the credit union have available. And what a budget does not mean, it doesn't mean that you can't buy things that you want. That you have to restrict yourself in certain things. And I think that's what a lot of people misunderstand too. When I talk about budgeting with people, they have such a negative, such a stigma in society is that, budgeting doesn't mean it should be a restriction. It could just tells you, if anything, it gives you a freedom to know what it is that you're going to be able to afford when you can afford those things, a freedom of not having to worry about, if you have enough for your living expenses and your other bills and stuff. So it should be anything but, restrictions. So you don't have to say no to your favorite things. Like you hear a lot of people say, oh, if you keep buying your coffee every day, $5 coffee, you're going to go broke, or you should invest that into something else. You'll get $1 million in 30 years. The truth is, if buying a coffee in the morning is more suitable for your lifestyle and you're not going to spend anything else for the rest of the day, then I don't see a problem with you living your life a little bit and, having that coffee. It should not make you feel overwhelmed. So sometimes when I see people and they just don't exactly know where to start, they feel like they've gone, down a road where they can't keep track of their spending. They don't exactly know why they make $100,000 a year but not have anything in the bank. But a lot of time that comes from not being able to track your spending too. So we're going to talk about, how to track your spending and stuff. So the importance of having a budget, we want to create freedom and financial stability by helping you track expenses. Again, this way it tells you exactly how much you have left over to spend in each category of your life. Categories of life, how I like to break things down, comes down to, you have a vacation, you want to take a vacation next year, let's say in June, but you don't exactly know how much money you're going to have by then. So if you know that you're going to, go on vacation by June, let's go ahead and work our way backwards. So June is 7 months from now, or 8 months from now. Today's November 1st. I keep thinking it's December, but the weather makes it feel like December. But so it was 7 months from now. So we can work our way backwards. So we have 7 months, or 8 months to save, let's say $1,500 for that trip to Wisconsin Dells. All right. So that's actually really cheap for Wisconsin Dells. Let's say $5,000. I've never been there with kids, so I don't know how much it is, but let's say $5,000. So you know that between now and June 1st, you have to have $5,000 saved. So if you're able to work it backwards and say, you're going to have to save $800 or $900 a month, that breaks it down to $400 or $500 every paycheck, and then you can set those aside each paycheck. So now when it comes down to you having, and when it comes to June, you know exactly how much money you have in that account to spend on that vacation, and you know that it's not going to touch any of your other accounts that's supposed to go towards bills. So you should always have a category for bills, category for emergency savings, which we don't touch unless it's an actual emergency. And then, so an emergency is different from one household to another, but for the most part, we all understand what emergency is. Tires blew out, medical bills that popped up that you didn't expect, or you need to get medication that you didn't expect and stuff. So those kind of emergencies where you have to fly home or fly somewhere because due to an illness in the family. So those are the kind of emergencies we're talking about, but there should be other categories for fun category, or some people feel like they feel guilty for spending money that they've earned. So I like to tell people, if you find yourself feeling guilty because you feel it's money that you've worked for, but you still feel guilty using it, let's just have a category that says guilt-free money. So each paycheck, let's just go ahead and transfer $25, $50 from your payroll, from your checking account to that specific savings category. So that way, when you do spend out of that no guilt spending category, that you don't feel that guilt at all. Because the last thing we want you to do is make you feel ashamed, make you feel bad for using the money, spending the money that you've earned, that you've worked so hard for. And then what happens after that if you don't, spend money in categories to live in life and stuff? You restrict yourself way too much, and then you end up overspending. Kind of like a diet, if you're on a very, very low carb diet, then all of a sudden, you get the cravings. Had a bad day, you get a craving to eat ice cream or, pasta or whatever, and then you kind of go overboard and you feel like, oh, you know what, I've already messed up my diet this week. Let me just go all out and eat everything. I'll start clear next week. It's kind of like that with finances too. So we want to call it kind of, going on a little financial diet too. So you can not restrict yourself so much when it comes to your budget, okay? So the goal is not to restrict yourself so much. You'll know exactly how much is left over for different categories, which we went over. So different categories in life, depending on what you want your life to look like. It could be categories to save for a vehicle, a down payment on a car. That can be considered short-term goal. Or it can just be that you want to get your hair highlighted by springtime, and you know that's going to cost you $300-400, and you want to save money for that too. So categories is, personal for every person, every household, and it can be different categories for different family members in that household as well. And you'll know exactly how much to direct to bills, whether it's weekly, monthly, or yearly bills. For some people, they pay their car insurance on a yearly basis, which is highly recommended. You can either do 6 months or a year, because you'll get more of a discount that way. So they know that their car insurance, that they get $1,000 that's due January of each year. So they save $80, $90 a month for the next year into that account, so they know they have available for that account to pay for their car insurance. So that's when those yearly bills will come in due. So savings category doesn't have to be the spending, as in, buying something that you want. It just be a bill that's not recurring each month too, okay? It helps you save money for financial goals. So financial goals, why is it important to have financial goals and why do we have financial goals? Well, you want to be able to tell your money what to do, right? So you want to be able to tell every dollar that's coming into your account what to do. If you don't have financial goals, where would you direct it to? Would you spend it all? Or if you want to save for a down payment on a house, you want to save 20% on a house within 5 years, and you can work your way backwards and say, you know what, I need to save this much amount each paycheck in order for me to have this certain amount in 5 years for a down payment. Or that you want to go on a vacation that's going to cost you $5,000, you can work your way backwards. So those things are financial goals for you. It can just be something that I want to save up this amount of money to pay off this debt that I have. That's another financial goal as well. So again, it's very personal to each person what financial goals are, and you can have as many financial goals as you want. You can have as many short-term financial goals or medium terms or long-term goals. So for a lot of people at Mayo, they have a lot of student loans. We want to make that, depending on the size, we want it to be a medium term goal or a long-term goal as well. So it's very common for people to be in six-figure student loan debt. I know it's very, very hard to pay that off within 5 years or 2 years, so we can extend it out to as a long-term goal too. Or, if you want to save up for a dog that's going to cost, if you don't want to adopt or whatever, you want to buy, a custom dog or whatever the situation, if the dog is $1,200 and you want it within a year, so that'd be a savings category for you to put like $100 into that account for a year. So whatever category you want to make for yourself and for your household, by all means, it's personal, it's for you, as long as you have some sort of goal to where you tell your money where to go, okay? If your goal is to save down a down payment on a house in 2 years, the budget will be able to give you that freedom to reach your goals. So again, that comes back down to planning ahead of time and then work our way backwards. For example, if you guys have ever talked with someone about your retirement, some of the things I would ask you is, how do you picture your retirement lifestyle? And then if you want to travel a lot, or if you want to, stay in your house and just have the grandkids come to you, then those are two very different lifestyles that require two very different budgets. So then you would work your way backwards. How would I be able to save for this kind of lifestyle? So budget is the same way. And financial goals is the same way. You want to be able to have that financial goal and then work your way backwards and how you can include that in your current budget now. And then we're going to talk about, it helps you stop spending money that you don't have and stop you buying from things you don't need. A lot of times this comes around the holiday season. It has so many good sales out there. Some people may buy, their 80th pair of shoes for the year already. You don't need that, but you really want it. So a lot of people, if they're not tracking their bills, if they're not tracking their spending, they're not tracking their bills, it's really easy for you to say, this is such a good deal, I really need to buy this shoes today. But if you are tracking it, then at least you know exactly where your money is going to. You're telling your money, you're giving your money a job to go to, whether it's 100% of your income going to that one job, or if it's split up over different categories as well. So it really keeps you from overspending a lot of things, okay? Do we have any questions so far in here or out there? No? Okay. All right. And it creates you awareness of spending. So usually, almost 100% of the time when I talk to people, how much do you spend on groceries? How much do you spend on gas? How much do you spend on household items? They would be able to give me a figure or, a rounded off number, but they don't exactly know how much they spend on those things. So it kind of gives you an idea, awareness of where you spend most of your money into if you start tracking your funds. And part of budgeting is really tracking where your money is going to also. So by knowing how much you must spend on different life categories, you can plan ahead of time. Knowing that your future income and costs can help you to pay off debt in a timely manner. So the sooner you pay off your debt, obviously the more money you'll save in interest. But part of debt management should be budgeted into your budget as well. So and that's really personal for everyone too. Some people just have their student loans. Some people have an array of, debt that they're trying to pay back. So it's always good to include all of that on your budgeted spreadsheet. So you know exactly where to categorize things and where to send money to, okay? And it helps you avoid future debt too. So if you're tracking your money, or you know that you should not buy your 80th pair of shoe this year because you know it's going to put you further into your credit card debt. You're using your credit card because you realize that you don't have enough money saved into your account, into your regular savings accounts, but you really want to buy this item and you end up putting it on your credit card anyways. But if you don't track your item, if you're not cautious of where to tell your money to go to, then it's so much easier for you to get into debt to just swipe that credit card. Okay, so that's something we want to avoid. So it can even save your marriage and relationship too. So most couples argue about money. There's it's a statistic out there. Having a financial meeting with yourself and your partner is really important. So a lot of times couples come in together and they quickly realize that they're on two very different spreadsheets, two very different budget language, financial language. How they relate, how they see money and relate to, and their spending style are completely different than their spouse, and that's why they're not, that's why their joint financial spreadsheet is completely different than what they thought it would be. So a lot of times also couples don't really talk about money. Unfortunately, not to the extent that they tell me about how they feel about money and stuff. A lot of times how you spend, how you feel about money is generational. One person within the couple can grow up in a home that's parents are open about the financial struggles. So they're open, so then you learn to be okay to talk about financial struggles, but the other partner is not used to that at all, where everything is more hush-hush and you don't talk about debt because it's negative or this or that, and that's the household they grew up in. So if one person has debt and they're afraid to talk about it because they feel ashamed by it, then the other couple really wants to talk about it. You can see that there might be a rift there in communication with couples. So I always like to tell couples that come in together that it's okay to obviously put everything on the table, but it's a lot harder said than done. So sometimes they see me individually until they feel like it's healthy enough for them individually, until they feel healthy enough with their own relationship to their own budget, and then they can talk to me with their partner in the room too about that. So it's really important that you do check yourself with your finances and how you feel about budget and how you feel about your own relationship with money and debt, and how you want the household to spend money and stuff too. So I always try to tell people, have that meeting with yourself, meaning that track your expenses, how much you've been spending and eating out, how much you've been tracking and shopping, this or that, whatever category you want to track. But it's really important that you understand and you know where your money is going to. And then as a couple, let's just meet once a week too and see, for this week we want to work on eating out less. We want to work on, since we haven't been using the gym, let's just go ahead and cancel the gym membership or put it on pause for the summer, for the winter, or what have you. So you know exactly where the other person is coming from, how much they're able to spend at Quick Trip, how much they are allowed to spend on the budget with their gas and everything too for that week. So it's important that not only should you have your own financial meeting with yourself, you should have it with your partner if you're in that kind of relationship too. So that way each partner knows exactly what is expected of them the week coming up, and then know that if we do achieve that goal for this week coming up, we know that we're able to achieve our, short-term, midterm, or long-term financial goals as well. So the point is, it's really difficult to talk to your partner about it sometimes, but the goal is also always to work together and see if we can be speaking the same language when it comes to money. Okay. Any questions on that so far, or anything? Yes, sir.
What situation you're on a fixed income?
Uh huh.
And inflation hits like it has
Yes.
the last couple of years, the
Yeah.
taxes go up,
Yeah.
and you may have the best budget in the world, but
Yeah.
how do you compensate for that?
For the negative, right? So for internet land, the question is, if you're on a fixed income and inflation has, is where it's at, it's gone up by so much. You may have the best budget in the world, but how do you compensate for that gap in income and in expenses? Is that correct? Yeah, so unfortunately with something like that, with a fixed income, meaning that we get a certain amount each month, and unfortunately we have those large fixed expenses as well, which are non-negotiable at that time. And your budget shows that you are eating out less, you are trying to save money, save money on your phone plans, your car insurance plan, and all those other plans. So you've reviewed all that, but you're still in the negative each month, right? So the only other way to get out of that negative is to go ahead and have extra income coming in. So there's a lot of it's a gig economy at this point, where we're at too. So unfortunately, the only suggestion is that to get an extra job. Because it looks like it's not a spending problem, right? A lot of people don't really have that spending problem, but it's more of a money flow problem. There's just a lack of income coming in. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are in that situation right now. So in that case, it's trying to rent out an extra room, trying to do Airbnb if that's possible for you, trying to get an extra job, a second job, or trying to cut more expenses out. But if you already cut out the expenses, you're already living bare minimum, you can't rent out a room, you can't do this or that. I guess the only other way is, try to find out a way to bring in an extra income. Because you're right, you can have the best budget in the world and you can be so disciplined to follow your budget, but when it comes to lack of money flow, lack of income coming in, what do you do then, besides get a second job or an extra job? Or if you're already working a job, see if you can pick up overtime then too. You can try to sell things online. If there's a lot of people that's, go to Goodwill or, secondhand shops and try to sell items online too. So unfortunately with that answer, it's not like a quick, easy answer. It's just, if you're lacking money and the fixed expenses are higher than your fixed income, then we have to change how much income is coming in. So it's a money flow situation. So, yeah. Do you have a follow-up question with that or anyone? No? Okay. We can go on to the next one. So having a budget also reduces your financial anxiety as well. So anxiety can be in a form of, you know what, I know I went overboard this week. I don't want to even look at my bank statement. I don't even want to look at my bank account because I don't want to see the negative. I don't want to see how much I've spent. So, some people actually do. Their hearts start racing. They start getting sweaty. Their palms, start getting clammy when they think about their finances. And some people don't, they avoid that. They live through that for several days, several paychecks, several months, several years because it's just that anxiety is crippling. They're only able to take a look at their budget or take a look at their bank account on paydays so they know exactly how much they can put towards this or that, but they feel like they overspend on certain things. A lot of people have that crippling anxiety and not look at their budget. But once you do have a budget, you can categorize your lifestyle, how much you can put towards which category, so you can try to avoid that anxiety as much as possible. And that is something that I work with a lot of our members too. When I talk to people, I ask them what their anxiety level is sitting at, how comfortable they are talking about money within themselves, or if they pull up their online app and you see a number pop up, how does that make you feel? So it's really important to address that as well. But with having a budget, you know exactly where things are going. Sometimes it's not always easy to follow. It's changing habits, it's building new habits and having discipline to follow those new habits as well, or follow that budget. So sometimes you will slide back, and that's okay too. You can set a budget, and your intentions are 100% good, but sometimes, the human side in us takes over, and we kind of overspend a little bit depending on how we feel that day or that moment, So it's completely normal to have a great budget, stay on it for a few weeks, months, even years, and you kind of slide off of it a little bit. So that's when it's good to have, someone to talk to you about that. Why did you slide off? What happened here? Can we address it in a different way besides you spending extra money that when you feel a certain way? So, and then a little bit of a fact here: 67% of Americans cannot come up with $400 for emergency without putting on their credit card. So it's been true. Well, before it was $600 before the pandemic, and now after the pandemic, it's $400. So it's gone down a little bit. So now we're going to talk about actually how to budget. We talk about this, B word, and we talk about what the importance of why we need it, this and that. Now we need to talk about how to actually budget. So first things first, you want to track your expenses. You want to track how much you've been spending. So you want to figure out your future and how to plan better for your future and how to feel better about your financial future, you have to take a look in your past and how have your spending habits have been. So I always tell people that, if you're using a credit card, a debit card, you might want to go ahead and take a look at your bank statements or your credit card statements for the last, let's say, 3 months to kind of average it out. So let's say if you want to only spend $500 on groceries moving forward for the entire month. It's just you, a single person, you only want to spend $500 on groceries and maybe $100 on eating out. But in the last 3 months, your bank statement or credit card statement doesn't support that at all. It shows that you've been spending $1,500 on eating out, $1,000 on groceries. So it's going to be very, very hard for you to come from that lifestyle to try to condense it to the lifestyle that you actually want. So we can always start out with, maybe just lowering your grocery bill to $1,000 instead of $1,500 to start out with, and then work our way down to your ultimate goal of $500 a month. So, or for some people, they really want that, challenge to kick themselves into gear, they can try to do that right away, but don't be surprised if you get off track, which is completely normal. So, but we always kind of want to taper down a little bit too. Let's just be realistic of where your life was at before towards compared to the goals that you want to achieve. So it takes time and effort to track all of your spending. It's tedious, it really is. So it's tedious to go look at your past statements and also track your current spending too. So for example, if someone is telling me they only spend $100 a month on eating out, but you don't, but your budget doesn't support that, or at the end of the month it shows that you're in the negative, but you don't know where your money went to. Well, maybe you're not really tracking all your Quick Trip stops and stuff, because it's hard to leave Quick Trip with, and not spend less than $8 or $10 each time. If you go in there for like a drink and, and you end up coming out with, I don't know, a bunch of bananas or something. So, but a lot of times it's hard to just go to a store and not, and stick to a budget there unless you're really tracking it. It really is tedious, but it's, anything with changing habits is really hard to do and tedious work, but it's really well worth it. But it'll help you determine whether your budget fits your lifestyle. So that's what we just talked about too. So a couple of different budgets. Popular ones are 50, 30, 20, where 50% of your income, so this is your net income. So your gross income is what you get paid before all of your expenses, all of your deductions are taken out, like the medical, insurance, the retirement and stuff are taken out. So that's gross pay. So net pay is what you take home, what's actually deposited into your accounts, okay? So 50% of your net pay should go towards necessary expenses, 30% discretionaries. So those are the things for, eating out, different plans to going out, entertainment, things like that, hobbies. 20% goes towards savings and debt payment. So that's one of the popular budget plans. It's not my favorite one, but it's a popular one out there. For some people, they really, really stick to this and they really like it a lot for themselves, because all you have to do is break it up. Say you get paid $1,000. That $500 of that's going to go straight towards necessary expenses. That is rents, utility bills, internet. So those are necessary expenses. And they know that 30%, $300 out of that $1,000 goes directly towards their discretionary expenses. And they know that $200 out of that $1,000 income is going towards their savings and their debt repayment. So a lot of people, it's really easy for them to follow that, and I applaud that. If it's something they absolutely love to do, then then continue with it. My absolute favorite one is the zero-based budget one. So where if you have $1,000 income coming in, you tell every single one of those dollars where it's going to. So that way, at the very end of the budget spreadsheet, it shows zero at the end. So that's why it's zero-based budget. So it means that you're going to tell each dollar whatever amount that you allocate towards savings. You can say you want to put $200 in savings for one category and then $500 into rent and stuff. So you tell every dollar which category in life it's gonna go into. So that's, in a way, you're in charge of your own company. So just look at each dollar as an employee, each dollar as your, your little toy soldier that you tell where to go to. So certain financial goals. So we'll go over more of the budget here. Oh, did you want me to go back a little bit, or? Oh, okay, sorry. So we're going to go over a budget spreadsheet, and I'll show you exactly where it's at. But now we're going to talk about financial goals for a little bit. The importance of having them, important for funding your lifestyle, for short, medium, or long-term goals. So for example, if you know that you don't have an emergency funds, if your total monthly expenses is say $10,000 for your household expense, is $10,000, but you only have $2,000 in your emergency savings, then it's time for you to increase your emergency savings plan as well. Because we want at least 3 to 6 months of savings in there. So that way, if something happens at all, especially with the winter coming up, you just don't know if something happens on the road, that slick road and stuff. What happens if you're going to be out of work for a few months and you don't have, short-term disability insurance to cover you? You need at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses covered. Okay, so buying a house long-term or medium-term, depending when you want to buy that home. Paying off student loans, buying a car, retirement should be the long-term one, Wedding, the average wedding costs about $30,000 to $35,000 these days, but that was before and during the pandemic. I don't know what it is after the pandemic. I was afraid to look. So, but remember, with weddings, that's just for the wedding alone. That's not the honeymoon and everything too. Okay, and then a baby coming up. I just had a baby. My baby's going to be 9 months here in a few days. It's very expensive to have him. So it's expensive, during the hospital stay, and it's expensive. Daycare is very, very expensive right now. And a lot of people might know this, but I didn't know until I got pregnant that you're supposed to, one of the first person you call when you find out you're pregnant is a daycare center or daycare place. Yeah, someone even suggested before you even call your, family or friends, that are not as close to you, but you're supposed to find daycare first because they're that competitive. It's very hard to find and it's very expensive. So if you want, to have a baby within a year, then at least you need to figure out how much your medical deductible is going to be so you can have enough money in that account to pay on that medical deductible so they can take care of your medical bills, okay? Or if you need to save money for daycare ahead of time too, which is highly recommended. So I think in the state of Minnesota, I think the average monthly daycare, or Olmsted County, the average monthly daycare is $1,300. So you just have to remember that, if you choose to go on maternity leave, or if you're one of the fortunate ones that go on maternity leave and get paid for maternity leave, at least then you have that money to, save towards daycare. But just know that a large part of your income is going to be going towards daycare. Okay, so it's very important to save for that too. Deductibles for car and health insurance. I was very surprised when I started this position that I didn't know that a lot of people don't know the difference between, that a lot of people don't know their car deductible insurance and the difference between comprehensive deductible and collision deductible too. So it's important that you talk to your insurance company and see, is my deductible $500 for collision, and is it $100 for comprehensive, or what's the difference between the two, or even know what is on your car insurance, what kind of coverage you have. That's really important too. And I think right now would be a great time to do it. We had that first snowfall yesterday. There was a lot of accidents. I'm almost sure that 80% of those people don't know how much their car insurance deductible was, if they were, if they needed it. So it's really important that you know how much it is so you have it available in an account in case something happens, okay? And right now it's coming up here pretty soon. It's gonna be open enrollment. So it's important that you know how much your medical deductible is, if you need to get an FSA card or an HSA card to cover some of that too. Okay, and then of course vacations. We deserve to go on vacations. If it's up to me, once a month, but it's not. We can't all do that. So a lot of families are now fortunate enough to just. If you're fortunate enough to be able to go on one large vacation a year. So it's just, the economy has gone, the inflation has gone up so much that it's very hard for families to take large vacations anymore. And then paying off debt, we want that to be a short-term goal as well, because this debt as in high interest debt like credit cards, we want that to be short-term goals, okay? Debt not like mortgage debt, we want that to be a long-term goal to pay that off. But if you have a high interest credit card or loan that you want to pay off, let's just put that as a short-term category, because the sooner you pay off your debt with interest, the more money you're going to save at the end, and the sooner you pay it off, the more money you're going to have towards other lifestyle goals or towards your savings account. So we want to pay that off as quickly as possible. Do we have any questions so far in here or online, Christian? Okay. And debt management, the importance of having debt management. So we want to make our monthly expenses, or monthly expenses will drop, which means you'll have more money to invest into your future goals. You can have more money to put towards, a larger house or towards that down payment on the house if you're able to pay off your high interest credit cards sooner. You'll definitely have less stress and emotional grief once you pay off your debt. A lot of times people feel like that cloud is hanging over them and following them everywhere when they have that unpaid debt. So more freedom to work less hours or even quit a second job. So if you have this large medical bill or, a large credit card debt that you've been working a second job the last 2 years to pay it off, once you pay it off, you can quit your second job, have more time for yourself or your family, or something else to even go back to school if you are able to. Pay down debt reminds you to address harmful spending behavior that got you there in the first place. So, I mean, if this is a credit card debt and you were just spending and spending and you weren't really tracking your expenses, maybe it's a good reminder for you to, each month when you're paying off that debt, that is a good reminder for you to build new good habits when it comes to your relationship with your finances, okay? So you can do a couple popular ones that are out there. Is this debt snowball methods, where if you have a list of credit cards, you have a list of debt that you have listed out, you can pay off the smallest debt first and not really look at the interest rate at all. So whatever's the smallest, you can have a credit card for like $100 or medical bills that's $100. And then you have a credit card that's $300, and then you have your car that's only $2,000 left. Then you have, your larger medical bill of $8,000. You can pay off the smallest one first. So you start with the $100 one, got that checked off the list, and then use that money that you're paying on that $100 bill, roll it over to the next smallest bill, or the larger bill, which would be the $300, and then you pay that off within a couple months, and then just keep rolling it over to the next bill. So that is the snowball method, where you start small, and then you start paying off larger and larger. So what it does, the trick behind that is, the psychology behind that is the little quick wins, the little quick payoffs allows you to see results sooner, which can provide a sense of accomplishment and continues to motivate you to continue paying off your debt during your repayment journey, on your debt repayment journey. So the avalanche method is an avalanche. It starts off big, meaning that you choose the largest interest rate first. So it may be that the bill is a little bit smaller, but the interest rate is, 30%. Let's say we have a Macy's card, which is only $350, but the interest rate on that is 30%. And then the next card is $4,000, but the interest rate is, 27%. So we're not really looking at the balance at this time. We're looking at the interest rate, because the faster you pay off that account with the higher interest rate, the more money you're going to save in paying interest rate. In paying interest, meaning the less money you pay in interest means more money in your pocket, more money towards your savings goals or financial goals, okay? So that way you pay as little interest as possible to make the progress a lot faster. Idea to reduce expenses, you can change your cell phone plans or providers. Again, with the holidays coming up here, there's always really good, really good plans out there with phones. If you trade in your old phone, you get $1,000 towards the new one, and then your monthly bill will be a lot lower too. There's always promotions out there, so keep an eye out for stuff like that. And then also cancel a gym membership if you're not using it. This is usually around maybe the summertime, where people are out more, out and about more because it's warmer instead of being in the gym. Then go ahead and save yourself some money and cancel your gym membership. Or even just change it to a much lower, much cheaper gym too. So instead of going to the rack for $100 a month, you can go to Planet Fitness for $10 a month, so something to really consider. So, and then cut streaming services and or consider different internet providers. For some people, it's very hard to change internet providers. Where I live, they only allow HBC, so you can't really change that, but you have people we don't get regular cable, but we have, my husband likes to watch football, so he just gets live football from whatever. So he pays for that during football season, and then he just cancels it afterwards. Or I like to do a little trick where I wait till all the episodes are released into show, and then I just get the trial, the 1 week free trial, the month free trial of HBO Max or whatever. You binge watch it for the weekend, and then I cancel it afterwards, and you're not charged for that. So that's just my little things, just a little suggestions. You can move out of your checking or savings account with monthly fees or minimum balance requirements. So for example, with Wells Fargo, if you don't do like a direct deposit of a certain amount, you get charged a fee for that account each month. I don't know exactly how much the fee is. So with MEFQ here, with us here, we don't charge any of that all. So you can have as many savings account or as many checking account as you want. And that's another thing too, when you're doing different categories in your life that you're trying to save for or pay for, you can have different savings account or checking account for that as well. And if you feel like it's too tempting for you to touch that money, that same bank, then go ahead and move it, to a different bank too, or a different credit union, where it's going to be harder for you to touch that money. But otherwise, I recommend just keeping all your money with us, and so just have different savings and checking account. But refinance your loan to a lower interest. That's for student loans, that's for vehicles, that's for mortgage too. So always shop around for the best rates possible. Remember, the lower interest rates that you can get, the more money you'll have in your pocket at the end, okay? So you want to tailor your goals to your current lifestyle, which, like I said, it's very, very personal to each person. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
For my cell phone,
Uh-huh.
do the cheapest possible, and they call it prepaid.
Uh-huh.
And so you just buy whatever phone, and then the only one that works in my neighborhood I have to get, and it's $30 a month.
Oh, nice. What kind of cell phone plan was that? Or who's it through?
It's called prepaid.
Oh,
and it's
prepaid.
with Verizon.
Oh, nice.
What works in my neighborhood, so yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. So for anyone in internet land there, in case you didn't hear, so for her cell phone plan is called prepaid with AT&T, you said, or Verizon? Verizon, sorry. And it's $30 a month, and so you just, so it works in your neighborhood, so that's great. And there's a lot of different plans out there too, so it's really important to shop around. But also remember that your credit score is being affected. If they tell you that they're gonna run your credit to determine, how much deposit you have to make and stuff, just know that it's not even worth having that ding on your credit report, because there's a lot of other cell phone plans that doesn't require, them to pull up your credit report too. And also shopping for auto insurance. Just know that one of the things that determine your auto insurance premium is, of course, your driving history, right? So that's the first thing. The second and most important thing is your credit score. So if you're shopping around for a lower car insurance, just know that just try to get an example of how much your bill might be, but not have them run your credit report, because that's going to show a ding on your credit report as well, okay? And debt management, so ideas to accumulate more savings. You can set goals, of course. We talked about goals. It's really, really important to have those goals, follow those goals, and it's important to reevaluate those goals too. So if your goal this year is to say, save $1,000, but then next year you realize, $1,000 on my emergency savings is not going to be enough. It's always good to reevaluate that as well. You want to automate your savings, which is an easy way to do that too. So if you get a direct deposit into your checking account, and then you can have it automatically move $150 each paycheck into a savings account for you. That's like an easy way to automate your savings. Or from your payroll, you can actually have them directly deposit a certain amount, a certain percentage of your paycheck to a specific account. So that way you don't even have to manually, or you don't even have to take a look at how much is deposited into your account. So meal plans, dining out less. We all know that eating out at a sit-down restaurant is so expensive these days. So it's hard for a family to afford to leave a restaurant under $100, I think. Remember, you have to include tip and everything in there too. So you can carpool and avoid extra trips. You can sell items you no longer need, for clothes, baby gears, household items, things like that. You always see stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Of course, be careful with the fraudulent and the scams out there. You always see stuff on Craigslist, people selling stuff all the time. So that's another way to accumulate more income. And you can also add another gig or part-time job too. So that's how you can get more. So this is the budget demo that I use, that I came up with, but it's going to be available if you guys want just a blank sheet of this. Just let me know, just email me, and I can go ahead and send an email out to you guys just for this spreadsheet. So on the left-hand side, I like to put paydays, because when I have people budget their items, their bills, I like to have them take a look at what bills are due between this payday and the following payday. So then with this paycheck, we're just going to pay those bills first, okay? And then we have money for the rest of everything else. So up in top, you see where the income is at. So this is basically called monthly money flow. So the first portion of it is your income. It can be a one-person household income, two people income, however many incomes are coming in, you can list on there, okay? So in this situation, the total income is $5,600, as you see down there for total income. And then the second part of it is fixed expenses. That is your mortgage or your rent, your water is pretty much fixed. It's gonna be, change from time to time. Your water, utilities, stuff like that will probably change. Your student loan, typical person has a student loan, car insurance, car payment, credit cards, lights, Minnesota Energy, and also personal loans. So typically these are, bills that people have. And I like to list them out according to your due date. So that way it's easier for you to figure to see, from my first paycheck, these are the bills that are due for this first paycheck. So I know exactly what I'm going to pay on this one. And then the second portion, the yellow portion, is the variable expenses. That'll be your food, your clothing items, your hobbies, your entertainment. So those are going to vary from month to month. So that's why they're in the variable section. But we want to still set a goal, even though we know it varies from month to month. We will still want to set a goal to reach. Let's say I only want to spend $400 every paycheck, which means every 2 weeks in this situation. Every paycheck, I only want to spend $400 on groceries, okay? So we know that it varies, but we still want to set a maximum goal on there. So the goal for that is to not go over $400 every 2 weeks. So if you're like me and you like to go grocery shopping once a week, then you know what, it comes down to $200 a week for you. $200 a week strictly for groceries. And then for household items such as, paper towels, shampoo, stuff like that, you can have a different category for that as well if that's what you want to do. You can have $50 max for to 2 weeks. And then gas for your vehicle, sometimes it's completely out of your control how much, gas is. But you can control how much you drive from one location to another. Or, that goes back to wherever you're able to carpool to work, if that's possible, or, to daycare, whatever the situation is. So some of the stuff in variables will be for hobbies. Hunting season is here, it's coming up. So you can set a set amount for that. Your license can be, I'm sure license for deer is expensive. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what season we're in. I think it's peasant or something. I mean, pheasant, not peasant, sorry. Pheasant season or something, but. But and then for personal care, those your hair and nails, if that's what you're into. So whatever you consider your personal care, it can be for therapy. For men, it could be whatever it is that you consider your own personal care, or it could be a category for guilt-free spending too. So whatever you want to choose to name it. So these are the different categories I'm talking about when it comes to lifestyle. Okay, the orange part, the fixed expenses. That's fixed. That's going to be necessary things you have to pay in order for you to be part of the society to live. But the yellow category is going to be what makes your life livable, like life, what brings you to life. Do you want to have a category for ice skating? So you can have a category for that too. So, but as long as you try to fit that into your budget. So this is a zero-based budget here. So personal care and then entertainment, going out, it could be entertainment. Whatever form of entertainment is considered your entertainment, you can have a budget for that. And then, of course, the blue portion, I put it up there as fixed expense. Right up there is fixed too. So the blue portion is for savings and sinking funds, saying that if you want to save for emergency savings, you need to beef up your emergency savings. Let's make that a mandatory savings. So out of your budget each month, mandatory $100 of that, $100 of your little employees are going to go towards a savings account. So you're giving each one a job. So this is what I mean when I say you give each one a job. So you want to save for a trip, $50 a month because it's going to be a closer trip. You don't need to spend that much. It's only going to cost you $500 for that trip. Let's just go ahead and save $50 every month for that. And then you can even break it down to each paycheck, $25 each paycheck, directly go into that savings account without you even touching it. Just automate your savings, have it directly go into that savings category. With Christmas coming up, you might want to save for that too. Okay, so you have to determine, again, work backwards. How much do you want to spend for Christmas? And then how much time between now and Christmas? And you can break that down according to your paydays, okay? And then house maintenance. It's always good to have an extra savings account for house maintenance, even if you're living in apartments. If you need to, something happens, your apartment gets flooded and you need to go stay at a hotel for whatever amount of time, it's always good to have that kind of savings too. And then of course you want to have your assets and checking account. So in the green portion there, it's not part of the bills. Oh, I'm sorry, go back up here where it shows that the total expense is actually $5,600. So now the base budget is at zero. So you want that to hit zero so you know where each money is going to. And then, of course, you want to just put down how much you have in checking, savings, different accounts, and then down there is your savings category. When you want to hit it by, your goal is $500. By September, you have a due date and you have a start date, and you have how much you need to put into your checking accounts, okay? So additional tools, you can meet with me virtually or in person for ideas on how to better plan ahead for your future. You use your tracking tools to manage your expenses. You can email me for a template that I use. Know your credit score, and you can review it on annualcreditreport.com. And keep tabs on your expenses with services that we offer. We have online and mobile banking, e-statements, automatic savings, transfer, and bill pay. And again, this is my contact information. Any questions, comments, or concerns at this time? No? Anything online, Christian? No? Okay, good deal. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for attending today, everyone, and I hope you stay after. We have Dawn speaking about retirements, Q&As coming up here at 12:15. So you enjoy your snacks, use the facilities at this time, and then stick around for Dawn. So he's a great speaker. But thank you so much for your time, everyone. Thank you.